Doyara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. Oh hey Vaishnava Thaku Doyara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. Diya Parachaya Shuru He Amar Tomara Charana Gori. Chaya Vega Doni Chaya Dosha Shohi Chaya Guna Deho Dasa. Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare Boshashi Sange Rashi. Ekaki Amar Nai Pai Bolo Harinama Sankirtane. Tumi Kripa Kori Sharavindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Thane. Se toma, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakriyache. Amito Kanga, Krishna Krishna Boli Daitava Pache Pache. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagara Idase Koruna Kori. Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Ujvara Varana Goda Bhadateha Vilasita Nirabare Baba Videham. Sri Bhuvana Pavana Kripaya Lesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Gadgadam Tada Bhava Vikaram Gurujana Tarjana Nada Vishalam Bhavaya Vajana Karam Nakarunam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Aryam Bharatara Charu Kapola Indu Vinindita Nakachaya Vichira Jalpitan Jaguna Namami Nodam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Degarita Nayana Kamala Jalagara Ushana Navarasa Baba Vikara Satyati Mantara Nitya Vilasam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Shri Satchitananda Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Chanchala Charu Charana Bhakti Ruchira Manjira Sanjita Pada Yuga Madhura Chandra Vinindita Shitala Varanam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Kati Kati Dora Kamandalu Ganda Divya Kalevara Mundita Munda Surjana Kalmasha Khandana Dandam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Bhushana Bhuraja Lakavalitam Kambita Vindara Vara Ruchiram Malaya Javila Chitta Ujjvala Tilakam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Adanulam Vindashi Bhujakugalam Galevara Kaishora Nartaka Vesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya. Ujjvala Varana Gora Varade Vila Sita Vila Vari Baba Videva Devuna Pavana annihilation. Sampanamamija Shri Shakti Pranaya. Jai Shakti Nandana, Jai Shakti Nandana, Jai Shakti Nandana, Jai Gaura Hari. Jai Sachidananda, Jai Sachidananda, Jai Sachidananda, Jai Gaura Hari. Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Jai Gaura Hari Bo. Jiva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Jiva Nishinga Bhavana Shrimani Sudata Rajanjananda Shama Utana Gatana Kaitava Shakana Jaya Dasharati Rama Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Vara Ramana Tatara Gopi Jana Vasahari Rajana Rakava Gopa Vrindavana Chittahari Vanshidhari Yogindra Vandana Shri Nandanandana Rajatana Vayahari Navina Nirara Rupa Manohara Mohana Vansha Vihari Yashoda Nandana Katha Sudata Nikunjala Samirate Karambakana Rasa Parayana Vindani Dina Nivati Ananda Vardana Premani Kripana Ulashara Jojakama Gokhanganagana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Gunagana Dhamma Jamuna Jivana Keriparayana Manasa Chandra Jakora Namsurana Gal Krishna Jasa Rakho Bachana Manamora Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Chapter 18, just the English, please. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, sannyas, O killer of the Keshi demon, master of the senses. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, The giving up of activities that are based on material desires, what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyas. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyaga. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruit of activity should be given up as faulty. Yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation, O tiger among men. Renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Pritha. That is my final opinion. Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation. O Arjuna, one is prescribed duty only because it ought to be done, and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit. His renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. The intelligent renouncer situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work, nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work. It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. For one who has not renounced the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the 3 constituents of action. According to the 3 modes of tail nature, there are 3 kinds of knowledge, action, and performer of action. Now hear of them from me. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all-in-all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires, and enacted from a sense of false ego, is called action in the mode of passion. That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Which performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion. The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance. O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of delusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. But that determination by which one holds fast the fruit of results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna. And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness. O best of the Bharatas, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys, and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion. And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, which is free from these three modes born of material nature. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemy. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas. And for the Shudras there are labor and service to others. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. But worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings, and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions, ever by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. One who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being free from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotional service unto me. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in the full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. In all activities just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you'll have to be engaged in warfare. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. O Sayana Bharat, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Abandon all varieties of religion, and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere, or devoted, or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. O son of Pratha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions. Sanjaya said, Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who is speaking personally to Arjuna. O King, As I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Namasheshtam manamapi shachiputramatra sarupam shirupam tasyagrajam uruparim matarim goshtavatim radha kundam girivanamoho radhika madhavasham prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi. Namasheshtam manamapi shachiputramatra sarupam Shirupam tasyagrajam uruparim maturim goshtavatim Radha kundam girivaramoho radhika madhavasham Prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum dhamnatosmi. He Guru Gyanada dinabandho swananda data karanaika sindho Vrindavana sinahitavadha Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara. Hey Dinabandho Karanaika Sindho Guru Prasadam Manda Mudhe Laksha Parade Bahupapa Gadhe Tatpada Padme Stu Matishta Krishne Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayasta Vesha Brahmayusha Smaranta Yontar Bahishtanubritam Ashubham Badunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Vyanakti. Spiritual Master, by whose causeless mercy I have attained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami. Abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for loving service to Shri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma, for you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified with the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desire. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us a shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the earth. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalavasadi Sharma Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Namah Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanande Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajika Chaturshtul Tarishtashi Shimad Bhai Charana Devagna Bhaktivedanta Saimar Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajika Chaturshtul Tarishtashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Yeah. Hello. There's a red car parked outside. Can you please remove it? Thank you. Red car.
This requires cowbell. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Ballabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janna Ballabha Jaya Girivardhari Yashodananda Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodananda Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodananda Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodananda Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Today we'll be discussing the 10th canto, 80th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the story of Sudama. Sudama was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and he went to school with him. So we'll be talking about their relationship and what it means to us. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nitai Namineche Namarhate Shadamudye Nam Dite Chere Nitai Namineche Namarhate Shadamudye Nam Dite Chere. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So within the two chapters, 80 and 81, that describe Sudama, Brahman, his wife, Krishna, and Rukmini Devi, there's a verse repeated from the Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati taraham bhakti paritam ashnami prayata manaha. Same verse. It's there in the Bhagavatam, and it very much is a centerpiece of this pastime of Sudama and Krishna, because the verse describes the way in which Krishna values more than anything the Hare Krishna. We welcome Its Grace Amarendra Prabhu and Swastika Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for visiting Amarendra Prabhu and Srimati Swastika Devi. Hare Krishna. Very nice to have you here. Prabhu will be speaking tomorrow at the Sunday program, and also Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, common verse between the Bhagavad Gita and included in these in the chapters, 10th canto, 80th chapter, and 81st chapter, is when Krishna expresses how he relishes what's given to him by his devotee with love. And the contrast in this pastime is striking in that as Sudama is at home and practically living in penury, because he's a Brahman's Brahmin in the sense of renunciation, of being renounced. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yat richcha labasantushto. Just be satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord. Have you ever tried that? Don't move, just sit there. In fact, that's also repeated in the Bhagavatam. And the description of the python. The python sits. A person pretends to be a python and just stays in one place. He said, sometimes I'm fat, sometimes I'm skinny. Sometimes something comes, sometimes something doesn't. But that's kind of the way it works anyway, even if you try for it, as is mentioned by Narada to Srila Vyasadeva, Tyaktva Sadharmam Charanam Bhujam Hari, as a tasyaiva heto parayateta kovidon lalabhyate brahmatamu parayada talabhyate dukkha varanyata sukham kalena sarvatra kabhira ramasa. Kalena, by the power of one's destiny, as arranged by Krishna through the material energy, that one receives a certain amount of happiness and distress in this world. There may be largesse at some time, and other times, no matter how hard you try, it might not come. It comes of its own accord. So those who are highly learned have this sense that I needn't get so involved in fending for myself in this world. In fact, two of the symptoms of surrender in the process of Sharanagati are that one considers Krishna to be the protector and the maintainer. And of course we see devotees like Madhavendra Puri who didn't ask for anything either. And as we discussed this morning during Japa period, Krishna says, for such people, Yoga Kshemam Bahamyaham. Bahami means I'll deliver it by hand, personally, to those persons. We found a section in one of Prabhupada's purports where he described how if the devotee becomes too busy to think of anything else except for Krishna's service, then Krishna, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Everything is in my control, and I'll make sure that you have everything you need. So Sudama also had a predisposition to being renounced. He had a sense that I like this. I like not having anything. This can also be one of the attitudes here in this world. And Sudama had that. And he also had a very qualified and very helpful wife. They had a great relationship. They both were in a similar mood of devotion. But there's a way in which we have to live in this world, and wives tend to feel the pain of their husbands more than the husbands do, and sometimes vice versa. It's funny how that works. If somebody trips, I'm all right. So I go, are you sure? So the wife of Sudama was concerned with his torn cloth, just tied together to make up for it. No rupees for Loy Bazaar, Ganga Prasad, no cloth, and very little to eat. His ribs were showing. You see the accurate pictures of Sudama as taking after the description in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You see that he's very skinny. And this was concerning to his wife, who then requested him one day and said, you're a best friend of Krishna. Now, what's the history there? There was a time in which Krishna was in school, and he went to Gurukula. Gurukula means you go to the place where the guru is sitting, and you do bhajan all day long, and you do menial service. You go out and beg. This begging is actually a way that you can see the energies of the world working, as is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the story of Raghunath Das Goswami. If you knew how hard it was to to beg, you'd always give to beggars. And if beggars knew how hard it was to give, they'd never ask. And still, it builds character. We know from going door to door, when we knock on doors and then we have to hold forth at each door and we see how people are living and we interact with people, we learn things, right? We see how the material energy is working. We learn so much about ourselves. We see ourselves in others. And so Krishna and Sudama, they were both in the same school. When you go to school together, you become friends oftentimes. But especially those two, that is Krishna, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it sets an example by going to the Gurukula, living an ideal childhood. So his friend was Sudama, and one day they were out on an errand. Samit Pani Shotriyam Brahmanishtam. It's mentioned in the Shastra that one should approach the Guru with firewood in one's hand. That is, you're doing some service. Guru ostensibly will be doing some kind of yajna, and will need special wood to fire yajna to perform. So do something practical. Go get some wood. So they went to the forest to collect wood together. And as they were collecting, then a storm came up. We're used to that here now, that we have monsoon practically going on. And dark clouds came. They were far away, going to the far reaches of the forest to find the best wood. And then the rain started coming down, so much so that it was coming up on the ground, and it was hard to even walk, what to speak of see where they were. The wind was blowing, and they took shelter under a big tree. And since they couldn't go anywhere, they just huddled together and stayed there the whole night. And their guru noted that they were absent and found out that they had gone to collect wood in the forest, and so in a very heartfelt way went out himself looking in the forest to find his dear disciples who were, after all, serving him, and to see how they were, and found them huddled together, and he brought them back by the hand to the ashram and took care of them. So this is a great memory when you have this skin in the game with somebody. We've done service. I notice this whenever I meet God siblings anywhere in the world, that we've done service together, especially if you've been in the trenches. You have an immediate rapport. It's like, hey, how are you? You may not have seen for 20 years, 30 years, but then there's this sense of connection. Even those that I didn't know, but I know they've been in the trenches anyway, because just to stay alive in Krishna consciousness means that you have some kind of determination to overcome obstacles. But if you have been, then you remember. And so Sudama's wife was remembering that there's you have a very close relationship with Krishna, and now he's in Dwarka. He's the king there. Everybody knows how magnanimous he is and how opulent he is. Now the last thing Sudama would ever do would be ask Krishna for something. We discussed that this morning. Also, there's a competition between Krishna and his devotees. Devotees say, everything for Krishna, nothing for me. That was Prabhupada's motive, or his motto. And Krishna's always trying to do some service for his devotees, but they don't want to accept anything from Krishna. So it wasn't his idea, but his wife, who urged him that if you go to see Krishna, just go there and see him. And, maybe something will happen. And Sudama thought, well, she's asking. I can't get out of this anyway. So I'll go. And what a great occasion. I get to see my old friend and visit him. So just before he left, he and his wife concurred that, you have to bring some gift. Now, they didn't have anything in the house at that time. So they borrowed some poha from the neighbors. A little bit of chipped rice, but actually it wasn't just regular chipped rice, it was broken. Because oftentimes when he asked for charity, pull up the dregs. But to emphasize the apparent meagerness of the offering, it's mentioned that this is chipped rice, not the highest quality. It was whatever they could get. But they thought, let me give a gift to Krishna. And this is, of course, moving us towards the verse that Krishna repeats, as he had spoken in the Bhagavad Gita, Ashnami Paritatmanaha, that I want to eat that thing. In fact, the Acharyas mentioned that Krishna is so eager for the love of his devotees and the offerings that, as although it mentions a flower being offered, that he'll even eat the flower. He'll devour it because he wants to take the love of his devotees so deeply into his being that if they offer a flower, it's not just like, okay, thanks. It's like, finally, something from my devotee with love, and then he'll eat that. So the story is building here because this tiny little offering it was just a few palmfuls of this rice, and he tied it in some cloth, whatever ragged cloth they had. They tied it up into a little packet, and really he kept it concealed because he was thinking, I'm not going to offer this. This is like, I'm taking it. Have you ever had that? You have a present, and it's like, they're not going to like this anyway. This is horrible. What am I going to do? But there you are. That's where we are in this world. It's always a little awkward. We don't know. We just have to find our way forward. So as Sudama walked towards Dwarka in ragged cloth, and he looked skinny and insignificant, he thought, he was wondering, how will I get into Dwarka? But because he was a Brahmana, such a respectful personality that people recognized him in Dwarka, and they let him through the gates. There were several gates he had to pass through with guards, and as he entered in, he was noticeably in the spiritual world with all its opulence, because now in Dwarka, when Krishna is performing his pastimes there, he has 16,108 palaces and 16,108 wives. He's in every palace simultaneously, and everything's opulent there. In fact, we hear about Dwarka when the residents of Mathura were transferred there just at the time of Kalyavana was attacking simultaneously with Jarasandha, and Krishna thought, let's relocate. So he did it at night. That's a nice time to relocate. And Krishna's energies so powerful, his moving service. They were sleeping. They woke up. I like this because I hate moving. Barely ever do it. It's like I always say, it's right up there with death. So they woke up in Dwarka, and everything gold inlaid and as opulent as can be, a fortress in the middle of the ocean. This is how Krishna takes care of his devotees. He just transferred everybody from there to Dwarka, and the most opulent place possible. And when Sudama came, it was not that he had to search out Krishna. Krishna, of course, as we read this morning in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridaya tishtiti, brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudrani maya. He's aware of what's going on in every living entity's life and what's in their heart and mind. And he was very well aware that Sudama was coming. And so the Lord in his palace with Rukmini saw Sudama coming and went out to greet him. This is the etiquette when a great person comes. One should stand up. One should go and greet the person. Of course, Krishna showed by example. This is a fascinating aspect of Krishna's Leela, that he always performs perfectly and displays etiquette. For instance, it's mentioned when he would meet the Pandavas. With each one, with Yudhishthir, he would touch King Yudhishthir's feet and treat him as a senior. When Arjuna would try to offer obeisances to Krishna, Krishna would catch him by the arms. Have you ever seen this? Between two devotees who are more or less on an equal level, and then one tries to offer obeisance, the other one grabs him and is like, no, you don't. You're not offering obeisance, I want a hug instead. So Krishna started that. So he hugged Arjuna, and then Sahadev and Nakula Sahadev, then he allowed them to offer obeisance. They were juniors. So he would always perform perfectly in this in etiquette. And for the Brahmanas, as we know, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha. One of the ways that we remember Krishna, and that, of course, it's a famous verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited when he was in front of the Rath Yatra cart in front of Lord Jagannath, remembering Jagannath and remembering Krishna's penchant for serving his devotees and honoring them. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. So he worships the Brahmanas, and of course the cows, and the cows even come first. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. So when he saw Sudama, he was so joyful to see his friend, what to speak of a Brahmana, and then by etiquette he came out and he worshipped Sudama by bowing down. He also invited him into his palace, and there he sat him down on the very bedstead of the supreme goddess of fortune, Rukmini Devi. Of course, all the wives of Krishna are expansions ultimately of Srimati Radharani. We find that Srimati Radharani is the source of all the Shaktis, and these queens emanate from her. They're in a different mood in Dwarka, but they're the source of all opulence, and the opulent surroundings there created by Rukmini. As she came down from her bedstead, Krishna sat him down there and then washed his feet. Of course, Krishna, we notice at the Rajasuya Yajna, everyone was given some service to do, just like when we have Janmashtami here, everyone wants to volunteer for something, right? Say yes. Yeah, so then everyone has some service. What's the best service? The shoe rack. Right? Say yes. Yeah, the shoe rack. Those who are at the shoe rack. We know this from Vrindavan. There's a devotee who works in the shoe stall there, right outside the temple. Huh? His name's Radhesham Prabhu. And he has mystic powers. How does he have mystic powers? All day long he's touching the shoes of the Vaishnavas. How do we know he has mystic powers? There are thousands of shoes stacked in there. Most of them look the same because devotees follow fads and like, hey, look what he's got. I'm getting those. But as you're walking down from the front of the temple, halfway through, he's already pulling out your shoes from the stack. How does he do that? He's empowered by the dust. These are three powerful substances mentioned. Kalidas in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was highly motivated. He had very powerful goals in life. His goals were to honor the remnants of every Vaishnav in Bengal. That was his job, 24/7. And in that section of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is mentioned there are three very powerful substances. The water that's washed the feet of the Vaishnavas, the dust from their feet, and the remnants of their food. It's a very intimate kind of understanding. It sounds very esoteric, but it's palpable when one's able to come in contact with those who only serve Krishna, and then this exchange of love, this taking of the dust of the feet of the devotees. So Krishna did that. He took the shoe service at the Rajasuya Yajna. And of course, when Sudama came, he worshipped him, he washed his feet, he took the water on his head and so forth. And the residents of the palace who were witnessing this were very touched. They were touched. They were also taken aback that here it is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's worshiping this poorly dressed Brahmana. This is such nice culture, isn't it? And so then they began to talk and they discussed, and of course, time goes back when you're with friends to reminisce. And they began to remember the times at which they were in the Gurukul together, and how they got lost, and how the Guru came and saved them and brought them back to the ashram so lovingly and took care of them. And they spent time together just remembering and enjoying their friendship. And when the next day came and it was time for Sudama to depart and go back to his home, such that it was a little ramshackle place that he lived, he had not offered the poha to Krishna. He already was thinking, maybe not. And he was keeping it behind him. You'll see pictures rendered of Sudama various places, and sometimes he has it kind of, there's not many places to hide it because his cloth is not that abundant. Sometimes he has it in a little satchel kind of behind his neck, and it's like kept to the side. And just as he's about to leave, Krishna's, excuse me, you have something of mine. And the very fact that there's this exchange between the devotee and Krishna, that Krishna will accept something from the devotee, and how this is the centerpiece of the process of bhakti. And also the contrast between this torn cloth and broken, dried up, chipped rice in a little satchel and Dwarka. We see these contrasts throughout, which makes bhakti even more appealing and beautiful when there's an eclipse at Kurukshetra, which is a place for performing sacrifices. Everybody goes there, and there's a famous time at which Krishna decided to go to Kurukshetra to perform sacrifice during the eclipse of the sun. It was coming, everybody knew it. So he brought all his armies. There's great pageantry in his armies. The way the animals looked are described in the Shastra, and animals, elephants, horses, the soldiers all bedecked with gold-plated armor. And by the millions, they were coming with bards. What do bards do? Do they sing? There's a verb for barding. Panegyrists, that's a thing. It's an occupation, good work if you can get it. And then the residents of Vrindavan, who had been informed by messengers who came there and beat drums and said, there's a sadhu sangha happening at Kurukshetra. Better go on the internet and get a reservation. They got in their covered wagons, and they came to Kurukshetra also just to see Krishna, because they thought after so long we can't behold him with our eyes directly. And the contrast is given there in the Bhagavatam. In the preceding chapters, after Sudama, a couple more chapters later, we'll go to Kurukshetra with Krishna. And there we find the contrast between these simple residents of Vrindavan with their wagons, and they're cowherd people. They churn, the ladies there, they churn milk, and the cowherd men take care of the cows and so forth. And then you have so many sophisticated people coming from Dwarka, and great leaders and thinkers and so forth. But then who shines forth is the residents of Vrindavan. They're the ones that are front and center in Krishna's mind and heart, always. Even when he's in Dwarka, he's thinking of them, dreaming of them, and so forth. And why is that? It's because devotional service is about simple devotion, humility and simple devotion. In fact, when we read the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find in the discussion between Uddhava and Krishna, there are so many subjects to be covered: Sankhya Yoga, Mystic Yoga, and Karma Yoga. Very involved, thick chapters. They're huge. But when you come to the chapter on Bhakti Yoga, it's tiny. You think, like, this it? After all this, all these other explanations, and now we came to the chapter on Bhakti, it's so small. And you come to the essential verse describing Bhakti, and Krishna says, one who is humble and offers respect to every living being, seeing me within their heart, such a person will bow down even to a dog. Such humility in the devotee's heart, and seeing Krishna in everyone. And then this is the mood of bhakti. It's very simple. It's very simple devotion. Ashnami paritatmanaha. Krishna says, if you offer me something with that mood, a lecture Prabhupada gives about deity worship in Los Angeles. I think it's Los Angeles. But he's describing about how to offer to Krishna. Of course, he was installing Radha Krishna deities here, there, and everywhere. And then depending on those he had recently initiated, sometimes just very recently, to take care of the deities. For instance, in Australia that took place, that it was very recent that people had even come to Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada knew he had to put Krishna in their care. And in describing the process of deity worship, Prabhupada says, in a voice that cracks, he actually starts to weep as he's saying it, and it's a deep moment when we listen to that. And Prabhupada says that, I'm very fallen, I'm rotten, but I brought this for you. I'm offering this to you. And as he says that, in a mood of extreme humility, his voice cracks. And you can feel that sense of simple devotion, which is so powerful, it rocks us to our core when we hear it, when you hear that expression. And that's bhakti, that's what Krishna accepts. So in the awkward situation for Sudama, he didn't want to offer, but Krishna then snatched it. And he took a morsel himself, practically aggressively. Krishna's very aggressive sometimes. In fact, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, once said that Krishna's very aggressive in his holy name. He's very aggressive. He comes to all these places like Palo Alto, everyone's happy. Hey, look, I go to Stanford, I don't need anything. I don't need you either because, hey, I got into Stanford. Right, but then the holy names, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Wait a minute, I got to get out of here. Krishna's following him down the street. Hare Rama. He's like, go, 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 get back in your building. He goes to all the villages. He sends his devotees door to door. Lord Chaitanya sent everybody out. Go knock on everybody's door. In fact, wake them up. That's what that song's about. Udilo Aruna Purabha. It's like, wake up, guys. You got the huge kirtan coming through the street. Wake up, chant Hare Krishna. And it's Krishna's idea. All these things. So he's a little aggressive. He grabs the packet, little satchel. He takes some. He relishes it. Ashnami paritapmi. I'll eat that. It's from my devotee. I'll eat it. He won't eat it if it's not from a devotee. Duryodhana was politicking, and he had his huge, best cooks, first-class cooks, made the best feast you could ever imagine. He invited Krishna, and Krishna says, no thanks. I'm going to Vidura's house. He went to Vidura's house. They got so flustered there, they accidentally, they weren't ready, didn't know he was coming, so they started giving him banana peels instead of the banana. They give him some bananas, so they go, here you go. And Krishna took the banana peels, like, I'll take that from my devotee, but I won't eat what Duryodhana had cooked, because, and we feel like that too, right? Like, we won't go anywhere unless there's a set of Srimad Bhagavatams in the house. Have you ever had that? Somebody invites you over, yeah, I'm a devotee, but, you get there. I was once invited to somebody's place in Vrindavan. I didn't know who it was. A few devotees were going, you come. And I got there, well, who is this person? And I was like, yeah, they're kind of in devotional service, but they don't really like Prabhupada's books. And in fact, we got there, and I said, is there a book? Because we were sitting waiting. And I said, is there a book here? And they said, no, they don't have any of Prabhupada's books. I said, I got a stomachache and I got to go. We should feel like that. That's how Krishna feels. Unless there's bhakti, he doesn't want anything from anybody. He doesn't need anything from anybody. But ashnami paritapmanaha, if you have just even a little molecule, when we chant japa, if there's a molecule of sincerity that Krishna, I'm fallen, rotten, lowly, I can't do anything, but somebody let me in here, so I got to chant, and I'm going to try, and I want to be something, I want to worship you somehow or other, and Krishna responds to that. the fulcrum of all bhakti is that sincere desire. Krishna bhakti ras bhavitomati kriyatam yari kritopi labhyate. Tatalolyam api mulyam ekalam janmakoti sukritinda labhyate. That if we just have that intense desire, that I just want to try to serve Krishna. I don't know how. As Prabhupada, when he came to America, his guru told him, you spread this all over the world. Go to the Western countries. How are you going to do that with no money and nobody to greet you when you come? And so Prabhupada said, when you don't have any resources, then you keep asking the question, how can I do? How can I do? How can I do? And if we keep asking Krishna, just please somehow or other engage me in your service. So this very significant moment in which Krishna takes away the packet and he takes a little of the rice and he was about to take a second. He wanted seconds. Rukmini stopped him. This is also a meaningful expression because she then said, as your servant, as the goddess of fortune, I'm so indebted to him now that you've taken that one morsel. If you take two, I don't know if I can ramp it up that much. I mean, how opulent can I make it? So this is enough. Don't take more. Which is amazing because Krishna feels obligated. We find this, anyone who comes in contact with the Lord, in the story of Gopinath Patanyayaka, and he had been stealing from the government, just taking some on the side, and then he came back. The prince asked for the money back. He was sent by Prataparudra Maharaj to say, like, go collect the debt, and just ask him nicely. Well, he didn't say nicely, but he said he expected that. And when the prince got there to talk to Gopinath Patanyayaka, Gopinath had some really nice horses. And he said, let's start with the horses. You take these horses, and that starts to pay off the debt. And then the prince, who was a little bit haughty, he said, I'll give you such and such amount. And it was a low ball offer. It was way too low. And Gopinath then became indignant, and he said, these horses are worth much more, because you see, this prince, he had a little physical twitch in his neck. It was congenital, so he couldn't stop doing this. So Gopinath said, my horses don't do this. They're worth a lot more. And the prince took issue of this, and he had Gopinath arrested. And he put him on a chunga. Have you ever been on a chunga? You'd know it if you were. It's a big platform, and it has a hole in the middle, and then the sword's sticking up. And then they say, okay, fly down. It was an execution place. So he was sitting up there, and the prince wanted to threaten him to pay back the money. Devotees went. Gopinath was from a very devotional family. He was a great devotee himself. They went and complained to Lord Chaitanya. Can you get him out of this? Lord said, why are you bothering me? I'm a sannyasi, and you guys are stealing from the government. Now you come here, and you want something from me. And they're like, I'll go to Alvaranath and just stay there, and you guys don't bother me anymore. And they came a couple more times, and he really was strong about that. But in the end of the story, I'm eliminating millions of details, Kaviraj Goswami notes how Gopinath Patanyayaka was given a raise. In fact, his salary was doubled. And plus he got some special wrapper to show that he was in a very high position in the government. And he says, how did that happen? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is automatic. It's a very deep story. But we can take from that Krishna's bias towards his devotees, although he says he's equal to everyone. Samaham sarvabhuteshu name dvesha stinapriya. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. But if you start worshiping Krishna even a little bit, watch out. Because Krishna is known as vanchatita. He fulfills your desires more than you can imagine. And as Chaitanya Charitamrita says, automatic. So when this took place, he took a little grain. That is, I'm back to Sudama. And Sudama was walking home. And he didn't ask. He didn't ask for anything. And he thought, I'm so satisfied I got to see my friend Krishna. And I'm also so happy that Krishna didn't offer me anything, because that would have been awkward for me. I don't want anything from Krishna. I didn't even want the idea that like I came here because my wife, and then so he was thinking like that, and he thought in his mind, or he prayed out loud. He was saying, how's that verse go? Kwa starts. Kwa hamdaridra papiya kwa Krishna Sriniketana Brahma Bandhu iti smaham bahubhyam parirambrita. Thank you, Prabhu. That he said, who am I? I'm just a Brahma Bandhu, a friend of a Brahmana. And who is Krishna? He's the most opulent Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he's so kind that he embraced me. As he was just thinking, like, I'm just so fortunate. And this is how devotees, they're always satisfied, because they're thinking, if I can just somehow or other be the servant of the servant of the servant. Prabhupada writes, if you are the servant of the servant of the servant 1,000,000 times removed, he said, that's liberation. And this was his mood. No sense of entitlement at all. And satisfied that he got to see Krishna. When he got back to he was looking for his house, and he couldn't find it. It had been transformed into a palace. It was more opulent than the heavenly planets. He was thinking, like, okay, where's my place? And until his wife came out, practically didn't recognize her either. She looked like total makeover. And then there was all servants, everybody there glorifying him, singing his praises, and bowing down to him and so forth. And then it came into his mind, oh, I see. This is Krishna's reciprocation. And interestingly, I mean, there's a couple ways described how he reacted to that. Some say that he didn't touch anything. He basically just slept on the floor. He had a predisposition to that. But he also, it's described how he just used everything for Krishna. This is the point, that this renunciation, it's not stereotyped. There's a sense that some people have, oh, you have to have nothing. But sometimes, I mean, there's stories from the Ramanuja Sampradaya about how somebody's, actually I won't tell the whole story now because I want to take a few reflections, but it has to do with the brahmacharis becoming envious of the one grahastha couple that's there. And then the guru figures out there's some sense of envy there, and has the kolpinas, or the simple cloth that brahmacharis wear, somebody tears it up a little bit and they become indignant and complain. And then he has the brahmacharis go over and steal some of the jewelry of this householder from the wife and so forth. And they were only able to take from one half of the face. When she was sleeping, she turned her head and they ran away. But then the conversation went on between her and her husband. I think the brahmacharis came here to steal, and they need it for the deities, she said. Or he said, and said, you should have turned your head so they could have taken the other part too. And revealed to the brahmacharis, to the guru, that this renunciation is a sense, doesn't matter if you have, don't have, the main point is that it's for Krishna. It's offered to Krishna. And also interesting is that Krishna detected that Sudama was attached to renunciation. This is something that reminds us of Tattenu Kampamsa Samikshamano, and in the commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that whatever seems to happen in a devotee's life, sometimes it looks like karma. He said, this is not karma, this is Krishna's way of giving one very specific instances in one's life to remove the residual desire to enjoy the world. We're done with karma, but still there's some scent left over that I have some attachment to the world. And as it turns out, one can become attached to renunciation. So there's a way in which Krishna detected that and very kindly gave a customized type of situation for Sudama. Say, okay, you're attached to renunciation. Here's the most opulent lifestyle you can possibly have. Just so that he could feel that. And oftentimes, in fact, I heard the actor and comedian Jim Carrey, who's sometimes a very thoughtful person. I've seen interviews with him. He's interested in, I don't know how interested, but sounds like spiritually inclined. And he was saying, in a clip I saw, that I wish everyone could become wealthy so they'd realize that this isn't it. This is a lonely place. And also, when you're poor, you have some hope that maybe someday I'll be rich, but when you're rich, you have no hope because like, I have everything and now I feel terrible. And so Krishna gives devotees circumstances so they can see at various levels of material life how to just depend on him when you're poor and when you're rich. Don't forget the rich people. Be kind to rich people. In fact, in Toronto, Canada, there's a beautiful temple there. A very beautiful stone temple. It's a long story, but when they first bought it, it was paid for with lollipop money. One of the most opulent churches you've ever seen. Devotees went out and collected that on the streets. Prabhupada was still here. Shubha Vilash Prabhu had helped to procure that place. And people were not interested in selling to Hare Krishna, so they had to go into the realtors in disguise. And when they did find out it was going to Hare Krishna, there was a big brouhaha in Toronto that the Hare Krishnas are moving in, and if a lot of people were against it, tried to stop the deal, but it was too late. So there was a church across the street. There's a parallel church across the street. Anybody familiar? Toronto? Anybody from Toronto? Give a shout out to your city. There you go. So this church across the street, it looks almost identical, and the other group became envious, and they sent an arson. They said, we'll burn them out because they already bought it, so we'll get rid of them that way. But the arson was a bit of a dummy and went to the wrong church. And he started a fire in the wrong place. How embarrassing is that? Why did I bring up Toronto? I got so into the story, I forgot my point. Jim Carrey, rich? Right, be kind to rich people. So there was a GBC there a long time ago. He's not there now. And I just remember the neighborhood in Toronto. People don't live in houses, they live in compounds. They're so opulent, those places, right? It's one of the wealthiest places in North America, that neighborhood. And he would go door to door there, because I feel sorry for the rich people. You know, and we can feel like that. Prabhupada mentions in the Krishna book, when you go to a poor neighborhood, we went in Denver, we went to this really poor neighborhood. Dinner time, knock on the door, come on in. They're at the dinner table, this one place. And they say, what you got there? And they say, these are spiritual books, meant to wake up love for God in your heart. And she goes, okay, we'll take it. You want something for that? It's like, yeah, we take donation. My purse is over there, she said. They're all like at the dinner table, hands full. My purse is right there. You help yourself. You take what you need. And then an hour later, we transferred over a few streets and we went to the rich neighborhood. Immediately, call the cops. What are you what are you doing here? So the material life it's very harsh, especially when you're rich. It's really a bummer, isn't it? Say yes. Yeah, you have to think about it all the time. What am I going to do with all this money? How much taxes do I owe? Blah, blah, blah. Think about it 24 hours a day. Am I going to lose it? What if my kids, I don't know. So Krishna gave him a taste of that. He gives sometimes his devotee great wealth and says, here, now see, just show the world how to be totally devotional in every circumstance, rich or poor. So this Sudama pastime has so much. I marked so many places when I read this that I didn't go into right now because I just kept talking and talking. So now we have 2 minutes left for reflections or questions. Yes, Kennedy.
Hare Krishna. You were saying earlier about how Krishna feels devoted to us in exchange, and it reminds me of what I read recently in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where, and I actually have it here, it says, whatever pleasure I get from tasting my love for Srimati Radharani, she tastes 10 million times more than me by her love. And that's, how he loves. And there's times when, we give him a broken, rice, and he wants to eat the whole thing, and he has to be stopped by his wife, by cosmically the person who loves him the most, and yet he doesn't feel like he can give it back to her fully. And it just blows my mind that the being in this world who is unconditional love feels like he is outloved by his own partner.
Yeah, that's a good terminology. I hadn't heard that, outloved. It was like in the Wild Wild West, it was outgunned. But in the spiritual world, it's outloved. Gotcha! Okay, couple more because we're almost out of time.
Hi, Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Hi, Krishna.
I just have a little bit of confusion. I went to Vrindavan and I was talking to a few Vrajvasis and devotees, and they said that when I was having a discussion, I told them that I do not like to ask anything from Krishna. I'm just going to continue serving him. And they told me that that's mood bhakti, like that's not the right way, because we have their way of devotion is just keep asking Krishna for everything and completely be dependent and have that attitude of being an akinchan. So I just wanted to reconcile these two things in my mind so that I am following the proper path. Thank you.
Number one, and this is a bona fide instruction, don't talk to the Vrajvasis. Krishna told it, Lord Chaitanya told it to his devotees. When Jagadananda wanted to go to Vrindavan, he kept begging Lord Chaitanya to go there, and Mahaprabhu, thinking that he was leaving out of a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? With Jagadananda, disappointment, anger. Yeah, he had that relationship with Mahaprabhu, and so Mahaprabhu finally let him go. He said, but listen, don't talk to the locals. You stay with Sanatana Goswami, that's it. Don't talk to locals. They have a different level of devotion there. You won't understand it. Keshav Bharati Maharaj lived in Govardhan for many years. When he first got there, his service was to restore the Govardhan fortress. People call it a palace, I call it a fortress. It's a place where we're fortified against Maya. We go in and hear and chant. And so he had to deal with the locals a lot because it took a lot of work, practical. So he was telling me how he went over, they invited him, he had to go, otherwise it would have been rude to somebody's house for prasadam, a local Brajbasi. So he said they had Govardhan Shila, and the woman of the house, with the offering, she put everything together in a plate and put it in front of him and said, now eat, Lala, eat. That's the mantra. You eat. Like practically with a stick in her hand, like, eat now. We have slightly different padditis for offering. Although we appreciate that from a distance. So when we go to Vrindavan, especially Vrindavan, Prabhupada to go for 3 days or 3 years. 3 years means you have some service there, which means you keep your head down, you do your service. You go for 3 days, you stick with your guardians, and you don't mix it up. Don't walk around Radhakund, hi, how are you? They'll say I'm fine, but you're not. You're blowing it. You don't know anything. You don't know this, that. I won't go into the topics because it's endless. So there's a way we have to protect our devotional service, and the best way to do it is to read Prabhupada's books. Because Prabhupada has perfectly presented the conclusions of bhakti and of all our acharyas in such a way that we can eat it like pudding. it's just like pudding for us. Everything perfect, the flavor perfect, temperature perfect. It's fully nourishing. Once we have that clearly in mind, then for reference, we're looking here and there, and we judge everything through the lens of how Prabhupada presents it. And that's why one has a guru also. There are so many opinions, and unbelievably, they're all legitimate. Sanatana Goswami's commentaries, he'll give 7 times. This person says this, or it could be like that, or it could be like this. Can you handle all that? Hold it in your head. Best first to develop a very strong relationship with your local guru, and then find out the mood and method that's coming down to you locally through the parampara. And you can corroborate that by hearing from Prabhupada's books, seeing what those who are still on the planet are saying, like this is how Prabhupada did it, sit in one of Giriraj Maharaj's classes and find out, like, what did Prabhupada say? What did he feel about this and that? Thank you very much, everyone, for coming to the Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna. Now, we have a presentation from our youth. So I'm going to relocate and let everyone do their thing. Is it Vedant? Well, that's a big deal. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama. I'll be back.
Other way around. Very good. Okay? You need to press the down button for the next slide. Next slide. Down.
Where do I put?
In your pocket. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry for that 2-minute delay. This is a presentation that's going to be presented by Vedant. Vedant is a Kaishora student. Kaishora students are 12 to 14 years old, and we are doing this series as a way for them to be able to present what they've learned. We are having the book called Bhagavad Viveka, written by Gaurang Darshan Prabhu as our curriculum textbook. And it has these beautiful lessons, extracting practical wisdom from Srimad Bhagavatam. And so today's topic is, do the scriptures have multiple meanings?
Pointer.
Down for the next slide.
Hare Krishna, my name is Vedant, and today I'll be presenting on Do the Scriptures Have Multiple Meanings? To summarize, the scriptures have multiple meanings and they represent many things. For example, in a prism, as light goes through a prism, it splits into multiple colors. People may choose only to focus on one color, while others may choose to focus on the entire rainbow. Similarly, in the Bhagavatam, people may choose only to focus on one meaning, while others may focus on multiple. The pastimes of the Supreme Lord. An example of what I previously said is the pastimes of the Lord. In his pastimes, the Lord can mean many things and represent many things in one pastime. In a single pastime, the Lord can punish a demon, please a devotee, thwart selfish desires, and send grave messages to future generations. Vaisnava commenters often say that there are multiple meanings to the scriptures, while people who don't fully understand the Bhagavatam try to say that this is false and that their meaning is the only true meaning. When multiple meanings is given, it should not be considered as contradiction, but as richness of literature. The Bhagavatam's diverse audience. Similarly of how he can represent and mean many things in a pastime, Lord can also do this in an incarnation. The Lord comes down to this planet to punish demons, please devotees, and re-establish Dharma. For these reasons, he comes as Matsya amongst the fish, Varaha among the animals, Hamsa among the birds, Krishna and Rama among the humans, Srimad Bhagavatam among the scriptures, and Vamana among the devas. A sloka adding onto this is also Veda Purnam Kavyam Cha Prabhur Mitram Prevacha Bodhiyanti Tihi Puna Trivad Bhagavatam Puna. The scriptures are also instruct like three different ways, as the sloka explains. It is said that the Vedas instruct like a master, the Puranas instruct like a friend, and the poetic works instruct like a lover, but the Srimad Bhagavatam do all three. The book that does multitasking. A human can multitask and do things at the same time. But have you ever heard of a book that can do this? Well, the Srimad Bhagavatam can. The Bhagavatam can. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares the Bhagavatam to four things: the sun, a lamp, the tasty fruit of rasa, and Mohini Murti. First, the lamp. Just as a lamp can eliminate all darkness in a room, the Puranas can dissipate all the darkness in our hearts. It allows us to see the description of the Lord and see the material universe's creation and destruction. The sun. Just as a lamp can eliminate darkness in a room, the sun can eliminate darkness all around the world. The Bhagavatam, which is the lamp, can dissipate darkness in the soul, but it can also dissipate the atheistic concepts and demonic thoughts all through the world, like the sun. Thus, the sun analogy proves the ignorance in people and shines brightly among the Puranas. The tasty fruit of rasa. The pastimes of the Lord is also compared as a tasty fruit. People who don't fully understand the Bhagavatam will not be able to relish this fruit. But if one comes to the Bhagavatam with an open heart and wants to relish the Bhagavatam and its fruits, the Bhagavatam will open up to them. It'll give joy to those who open it favorable with the mode of bhakti. On Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3, it said, Nigama kalpa tavor galitam palam Sukha mukad amrita drava samyatam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam mohar aho rasika bhuvi bhavaku. It is said, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literature. Having emanated from the lips of Sukadev Goswami, it has become even tastier. O thoughtful people and relishers of rasa, please drink this nectarian juice of Bhagavatam. Lastly, he compares it to Mohini Murti. In the story of Mohini Murti, the demons and the devas are to churn the ocean of milk. When they finally achieve the nectar, the demons all want to take the nectar themselves. Seeing this, the Lord comes down as Mohini Murti to make sure that demons get none of it and give it all to the devas. She bewilders the demons into not getting a single drop and gives it all to the devas. This shows that the Bhagavatam will not open immediately to everybody. It also does this to keep people like the bewildered demons away from it. So the sun, the lamp, Mohini Murti, and the tasty fruit of rasa all show that there are multiple meanings in one scripture. Conclusion. Getting a balanced understanding. Getting a balanced understanding is very important. Many episodes in the scriptures prevent understandings at various levels. If we only see the divinity or godhood in them, we may fail to learn the intended message or relevance for a human life. And if we see them purely, from a human perspective, we may underestimate their transcendental nature or minimize their position of the people involved. So, while reading the scriptures, we need to patiently and faithfully depend on explanations of bona fide Vaishnava acharyas who can give us a balanced understanding from both perspectives. Thank you for listening. Haribol.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And do we have any time for questions, Prabhu? Okay. So if anyone has any questions.
Hare Krishna. I think we added up all the time it takes to start the mics. We'd get a whole Purushottam Mas. So, Vedant, that was an excellent talk. It was clearly understandable. You used a lot of analogies, and your presentation came through in a very comprehensible way. Thank you for putting this together. I think it's a classic, actually. I think I saw Amarendra Prabhu taking copious notes. That means, but I think it's worth going over this again and again. It's a jumping off point for a great philosophical discussion. And thank you for opening this to the community. It's really, really well done. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Wonderful, Vedant. I just felt that you had actually understood the whole, the entire essence of what it is and then presented it. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to share that, having taught his sister, Keli Kinjakumari, and now teaching Vedant, it's such a joy because Manjula Kanta Mataji is a very dear friend. And to see you following in your sister's footsteps is a source of great honor and pride for us. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, it was very well done. I was actually quite impressed because I wasn't here last night and then Vedant had prepared the entire thing and I drove him to temple now. So I had never heard the presentation before, but yeah, it was really well done. And I'm really proud of him because I've just watched him grow up and I'm looking at him in a dhoti and I'm like, wow, he's really just all grown up. So yeah, very well done, very proud.
Okay, we have a 2-minute break and then a special presentations. Take 2 minutes, come right back, and we're just going till 10, and then we'll have prasadam for anybody who's not fasting today. Hare Krishna. Take a break.
You can check if it's turned off. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Oh, should I give this back in the audience? After the break is done. I'll be leaving, Mataji, so I'll leave it here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
For the Bharat presentation, are you downloading it or play from the book directly? See, you need to place down. Can I do it directly or I can lift yourself up? Directly also you can do. Okay? Download and see. Press the hand down. Is it a PowerPoint or Google Slides? Yeah. Go. PDF? We send it as a Google Slides. Yeah, like that. Okay.
There is no like kind of bullet like one things are coming in.
One way is that you can. Well, you can just do it. You can download it. That's fine.
You can download as a slides from Google Slides.
As a PPT, you can download it.
Yeah, you can do the
Download as a PPT.
not PDF.
PDF doesn't carry. If you have any animations there, it won't show any PDF. See, this one animates, right? Download it. Yeah, no, it's doing it.
Nancy, where did the phone go?
Good job. I don't know where did you keep your phone.
Madhu
Gaura Madhushvare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. That's your part. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nam Gai Gaura Madhur Svare Nam Gai Gaura Madhur Svare. First off, for my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who inspired the world to not only take up Krishna consciousness, but to enthusiastically give it to others. And as one of the major missions that we have here at ISKCON Silicon Valley, does anybody know what our mission statement is? Jive doi Krishna nam sarva dharma sar. Everyone say, Jive doi Krishna nam. So Jive doi means to show mercy to others, to other living beings. Jive doi Krishna nam, by giving Krishna nam. Sarva dharma sar. So sar means the cream or the essence. And dharma means what maintains us. So the essence of all religious practice is to wholeheartedly and as as comprehensively as possible to distribute the holy name to others. That's our mission statement for ISV. And in doing so, we have various ways to do that. We can teach people by giving classes. We're speaking about it. So they listen. We also go out and we sing the holy names like we did last week so people can hear it, the chanting. And also, because writing is an abstraction of speech, it can also be written down. And then it becomes what's called the Brihat Madanga. A Madanga, let's hear. Sounds like that. And then there's a really big Madanga. This phrase was coined by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who's the spiritual master of our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, and said the bigger Madanga, or the Brihat Madanga, which can be heard all over the world, and in the loudest form possible, is in writing. So he's very much in favor of that, and also worshipped the printing press, which he brought into his midst and his flagship temple in Calcutta, in Bagh Bazar. And of course, that came from Cleveland, Ohio. It was shipped there from America, and he printed thousands and thousands of books. And then he told our founder, Acharya, that when, as a disciple, he was asking his spiritual master, what can I do for you? And he said, if you ever get money, print books. So when Prabhupada came to America, and there was some money, there wasn't much, but when there was enough to put together in a little coffee can, he purchased a place in Boston on Beacon Street. And then he bought a printing press. And then he had to reinforce the floor so that it wouldn't fall through the floor. And then he invited devotees who he had sent out into New York City to apprentice and learn how to print to come there to Boston. And then he got artists to come there and paint pictures, and he started making books. Then he figured out it was easier to print them in Japan at the time at Dainippon printers, because some of the books that were created by the devotees fell apart. It takes a Herculean effort to create one book. Dainippon had it really together. That's where the first TLC and the Krishna book came from. And throughout his time with us in this world, Prabhupada showed by example, by personally going out to distribute books in India when he was alone, first the BTG, and then he distributed sets of Srimad Bhagavatams. He had the first three parts to the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He went out himself. And then he shipped those along with him. When he came to America, they were held by the Scindia Steamship Company in their lockers until Prabhupada got a few followers, namely Gargamuni and Brahmananda, and then Prabhupada invited them to come to the warehouse and tie together those 3 volumes, because they were loose at the time. And then he invited them to go out and distribute them. And he had, if you read all his letters in the history, I put some of them in a book called Our Family Business, the progression of this distribution of literature. There are different phases, and Prabhupada was always pushing to see how he could distribute more, because it was the main instruction he got from his spiritual master, to distribute books. And in just 12 years, he had published over 80 books himself, and there had been millions of books distributed with the fledgling efforts of the devotees in various parts of the world. Now here we are today, fast forward, we have the same mission as we did before, which is Jive Doi Krishnanam Sarva Dharmasar, to distribute the holy name, and we do so in the form of books. So now, how do you do that? I'll tell you what Prabhupada told us in 1975, and that is that you should pray and be sincere. Shall you try? We want to try? Okay, so everyone make an individual prayer and do it sincerely and ask for his guidance in how to distribute books. Om Tat Sat. And then Prabhupada said, if you teach devotees to be sincere, and he went like this with his hand, he said, then the master within their heart will show them how to do it. So there have been many sincere devotees that have been working on book distribution for a long time, and they've passed down some ideas about how to distribute books. So I'm going to talk about that, because it's easy for us here at ISV to take it for granted that we know everything. Personally, in learning how to distribute books, and I'm still learning, I always approach those who are doing it and ask them, what are you saying? I've always done that. I kept a notebook where I'd meet devotees from around the world, and I asked, what are you telling people? And Prabhupada used to ask that on morning walks sometimes too. He said, what are they saying? He wanted to know what the people were saying. So the reason I'm bringing this up is that lots of new devotees are coming into ISV, and they're noticing that it's one of the main things we do. We go out to distribute books, right? Yes. Say yes. Yes. And so then, like, how do we do it? Well, we haven't had a training for a while, so today's going to be a very mini training. But I want to go over a few of the very basic principles of distributing a book, so those of you who want to try it, you'll be empowered. And the way in which I'll show you how to distribute a Bhagavad Gita is guaranteed. So if you follow the process, then I promise you'll be able to distribute Bhagavad Gitas to the people that you meet. And so much so, the guarantee holds that if they don't take it or they won't pay for it, then I will personally cover it. So keep a mark. And you can send me the bill later, okay? But you have to follow the method that I show, then you can do it. Now, everything I say is on this little card here that says, How to Sell Bhagavad Gita Smart Guide. But I want to first talk about the most important principle is that When we go out for distributing books, we're already successful. Don't worry about the number of books that you distribute. I think everyone's thinking, ha ha, very funny, Vaisesika Dasa, because that's all you do is push these big goals. That that comes that comes naturally. Everybody wants that. In fact, we've experimented before for our Radhashtami monthly Sankirtan festival. We said, oh, let's give everyone a break and not have goals. Remember? It was about 5 years ago. And afterwards, everyone came and said, that's no fun. So in the beginning, when we go out, and even in our individual approach, don't worry about the result. What we're doing is going out because it's the right thing to do. It's for our own purification. When we walk out the door, there's a sense of that we're risking something, isn't there? It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. Every time you walk out into the great unknown, you cross the threshold of the temple or you go out of your apartment, then you have the sense like, what's going to happen? That's where we would like to live at least some of the time during the month, in that awe that how am I going to do this? How can I do? Remember, how can I do? How can I do? So that's an important space to be in. And we also advise that when we go out, the main accomplishment is to touch the pavement. The hardest part of book distribution is just going out the door. And I notice that at seminars we do all over the world, that lots of devotees come for the first couple days to listen about why we should do it and how we should do it. And then when the time comes for us to walk out the door, a lot of people get phone calls from their mothers saying that they need a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they have to immediately leave and go home because it's an emergency. She needs it now. So don't miss the best part, which is just to challenge yourself to walk out the door. That's why we call book distribution high sadhana. We're doing it for our own purification. It's not for some result. We don't need money. But if you have any, see me after class. And also, our main objective is to leave everyone with a good impression. So we want to make friends with people. We just want to have a nice interaction. And what we're doing is the Dadati Pratigranati principle. That means that it's a loving exchange we have. We have it with ourselves. We talk about Bhagavatam, and then we go out and we offer it to others. So many people are eager and grateful to have a topic that's off the subject of the 24-hour news cycle nowadays. It's so distressing to people. They're consuming this madness that's coming in, and they feel extremely downtrodden by the whole zeitgeist of the world. So we have something to offer, something to interject into the conversation as a friend. And that's what we're doing. And the exchange is very sweet. And it's authorized. It's something Prabhupada did. It's something that Srila Vyasadeva thought of thousands of years ago. And here we are. We're following in the footsteps. Anarto pasanam sakshad bhakti yoga manohuksaje lokasya janato vidmams chakre satvata samhita. It's the reason that Srila Vyasadeva wrote this was for the people in general who don't know about it. So you can take for granted they don't know about Bhagavatam, but if we don't tell them, who else is going to do it? So there's a way to start, which is to think, I'm doing this for my own purification. It's the right thing to do to walk out the door. It's scary to walk out the door because everyone thinks in their mind, I have to perform. And everyone's going to notice that I'm not a good devotee because I can't sell books. We're not trying to sell books. We're just trying to do the right thing. All you have to do is walk out the door and be an instrument. Touch the pavement, and if you want, just watch other people and just be there in the mood of service. But don't worry, we're not into performing here. We're just into doing the right thing and getting purified by doing the right thing. So that's the first thing, have the right mindset. And then also the end goal we want with everybody that we meet, whether they stop to talk to us, whether they don't stop, whether they stop and take a book, or they stop and steal a book, or they stop and give a huge donation, whatever it may be, we want to leave everyone with a good impression. Some people we leave the best impression by just not pursuing them. We notice they're in a hurry, we just let them go. right? Ishvare taradineshu balisheshu dusasucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyama. The Bhagavatam authorizes us to be fruit pickers. Fruit pickers look for the ripe fruits first, right? And the other ones that aren't ripe, they grab onto and they pull as hard as they can and they break the branch off and they drag it back to their house, right? 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 You're right, no. You leave it on the vine. Let the sun cook it a little more. Samsaradhavanada ditaloka. It's cooking in the sun. So that somebody doesn't take, they don't look, or they like, oh, not you guys again. This is purification. When people tell us, please go to hell, then, there's a sense of who tells you go to hell besides, I don't know, do you have anybody in your life? You need that. It's really good to have people tell you, get out of here, because then it keeps us humble. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, you get chid rakta, spiritual blood, for your chid sharira, for your spiritual body. It's an investment. So that's why we go out, for purification. Be humble. Go out, just try to do it, and don't think you're the doer. And here's a way to achieve that. When you go out for book distribution, there's a mantra you can chant. And you keep it going. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, as far as selling a Bhagavad Gita, my guaranteed method that works all the time, please come up here. Prabhu? You just stand here. Okay, so the first thing is to make a conscious contact with people. Now, I've noticed that sometimes devotees, when they're distributing books, they just cut right to the chase. They'll hold a book like this on the street, and they walk up to people and go, here, and just immediately thrust it. People don't know why you're doing it, but the confused mind always says no, and they have some sense like, why am I, what's that? What is this? Go away. So, first of all, don't telegraph that you're coming after them. That means don't keep the book in your hand like a weapon. I always keep it here or in my bag or on a table. And secondly, before I offer them anything, I first offer myself. So the way to do that is make conscious contact. Now, see? We're looking at each other. And what if I do this? Hi. So is he a ripe fruit? Not really. Now say hi when I say hi. 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 And now say hi and smile. Hi. No, smile. Hi. Like this. Okay. So when we meet people and we just make a conscious contact, it's in the eyes. And you can see on a scale of 1 to 10 how interested they are. Up to 5, like if it hits up to 5, they're maybe interested. You can try if you want, or you can wait till it goes to 5.1. 5.1 was like, yeah, I saw something in them. They kind of looked at me like, yeah, cool, you're doing this, right? What's 9.5? They're like, hey, Bhagavad Gita, where have you been all my life, right? There's people in that realm. And if you just go through, so as fruit pickers, we just look for people that are already ripe. You don't have to grab the branch, pull it off, drag it home unripe. Look for the ripe fruits. We're into selection more than we are into convincing. Select, don't convince. You can convince a little bit once you find the ripe fruit or you become more expert, but don't burden yourself. Just go out and let the game come to you. So first thing is making a conscious contact. We have this eye to eye, and I'll say, hi. Hi. He looks pretty nice to me. So then I'll tell where I'm from. This is a natural thing that humans do all over the world. I'll say, I'm from Burlingame. Where are you from? Mountain View. I know people in Mountain View. I like Mountain View. It's a good name, Mountain View. Fantastic. So when you appreciate where someone's from, it's called Bhoma Ijadi. Bhoma Ijadi means you worship the place they're from. So if they say, I'm from Burlingame, where are you from? Fremont. Fremont, that's the home of the Fremont drag strip, right? Fantastic. So whatever it is, just appreciate where they're from. That's Bhoma Ijadi. Worship their homeland and they'll love you immediately. So then, now they know why you're going to say the next thing, which is from Burlingame to Mountain View. Go ahead. Now, this is another important point, is to put it in somebody's hands, because the feet walk, that's their dharma, the eyes look here and there, and the hands grab stuff. So oftentimes, even if somebody, their mind is saying, don't do it, Larry, don't do it, and the hands go, no, I'll do it. So put it out towards the hands. See? Watch. We'll try it on somebody else. See? Hands grab. They grab. Unless you got somebody that's 5 on the scale or lower. And in which case they might retract their hands a lot. But if you got a 5.1 and up, when you put it out, their hands are going to go for it. If they don't, I do one of these. Give them a second chance. But that takes a little practice. Okay, so now they're going to want to know what it is. So you tell them what it is as you're handing it to them. All this is on a card, so we're going to give it to you later, right, Melanie? We're going to give it to them. We'll have a link and you can load it all. And so when I'm handing the book over, I'll tell them the following. I say, books on yoga and meditation that show you how to get free from stress. I'll do it again. Books on yoga and meditation that show you how to get free from stress. So as I'm handing the book over, I'm just telling, what's in it for them. Get free from stress. Now here's the next principle, and that is that questions are the answer. Don't tell, ask questions. Because a question mark is the most powerful punctuation mark in any language, and it's shaped like a hook. So with the hook, you can direct the conversation and bring people along to Krishna and say, here, Krishna, here's somebody for you. So ask questions, and here's how you ask a question. Are you still okay? Okay. Books on yoga and meditation shows you how to get free from stress. Now I'm going to ask you a question. You've heard of stress, right? Yeah, he's heard of it. And then I'll make an observation. I'll say, really, you don't look stressed. You look very peaceful. In fact, you look spiritual. Okay? So please repeat after me. You don't look stressed. You look very peaceful. In fact, you look spiritual. So turn to a person next to you and say, you look spiritual. How do you feel? Spiritual, right? Yeah. Turn to somebody next to you and say, you look tired. How do you feel? Terrible. You go to the mirror and go like, what's wrong with me? But when you tell people they look spiritual, this is not gratuitous. It's actually true. They are spiritual beings, and you're just noting it. And what happens is they instantly become self-realized, because you say, you look spiritual, and then all of a sudden you go, hey, wait a minute, I am spiritual. I forgot all about Krishna. I forgot the spiritual world. I'm spiritual. And then you ask him the next question. Are you ready? Yes. What's your secret? Turn to somebody next to you and say, what's your secret? And it's in the context of you've done something really amazing. So how did you do that? Like, what's your secret? So now people will tell you some secret. If they're in the mode of ignorance, they'll say, I smoke marijuana. If they're in the mode of passion, say, I'm a very organized person. If they're in mode of goodness, they'll say, I do yoga meditation. And a lot of people say, I don't know, I don't have a secret. Then you can retort that you must just be a natural. And if they say no, then you say, you must just come from a good family. And they'll go, all right, one of those is okay. So now, this is the psychology of distributing the Bhagavad Gita. What comes next is the most important part. The reason I ask them what's their secret, I'm asking in the mood that they're the teacher, I'm the student. When we're on the street, ostensibly we're coming up to people, say, your life is really bad and we're going to fix it for you. That's what they're thinking. Like, why else is a preacher on the street, right? To fix my life. So I say to them, what's your secret? I'm your pupil. You tell me what you have to offer. You're putting them on the Vyasasana and you're sitting down and you're saying, you please tell me, teach me. So what's your secret? And then they'll say blah, 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 or whatever it is. Every interesting thing comes from the soul. They'll express something. Then, based on what they just told you or what you helped them to say, that they had come from a good family, that's what qualifies them to see the rest of the book. So at this point, once they tell me what their secret is, I'll say, fantastic, here, I'll show you really quick. Now move a little closer over here, stand right here. Turn this way towards the audience. Okay, so now I'm going to show them the book, and everything you need to say is in or on the book. So on the back cover, you have Thoreau, Emerson, Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, Tupac Shakur, and the Beatles. They all read this book. And can you read that? Just say no. No. Let the record show I showed him Sanskrit. He probably can read it, but he said no to cooperate. So I'll show them the Sanskrit, and then they'll say, no, I can't read it. I say, oh, I was just kidding. It's translated into English. And then I'll show the front of the book, which has the universities. And it has 2 universities that are very well known. One of them is Georgetown University, and one of them is USC. You can get oriented to the book, so you can turn to this and say, this is used academically in many places. You've heard of USC, right? Yeah. You've heard of Georgetown, the Hoyas? Yeah? Okay. And then you say, here it is in a nutshell, and also make sure you know how to turn to the pictures really fast, because if you take too long, then the light will change and they'll run off on you. So then the next thing you show them is the changing bodies. These pictures are very important, and say, look, we start here, we end up here, we're just passing through, life's a quick journey. Where are you in this? Point to where you are. Let the record show that he pointed way down here. And then I'll turn to this next page. This is the Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, which means the sage, the learned person sees the soul within everybody. And I say, a self-realized person treats everyone with respect because he or she sees the divine essence within everyone's heart. And then I'll ask, you've heard of karma, right? What does it mean to you? From previous birth. We get karma from our previous life. Yeah. And then when anybody tells me what karma means, then I react favorably. I say, whoa. Everyone do this. Whoa. I really like the way you put things. Okay? So now you ask me, what does karma mean? Well, you know, it's cosmic. There's rabbits, there's rainbows, butterflies, and it all comes together. Now you do your thing. I really like the way you put things. Yeah. So whatever you ask him about karma, then say, whoa, and really amazing the way you put things. And if you got 7 devotees talking to one person, it's quite a scene, because as soon as they tell it, everyone goes, whoa. And the person feels comfortable that they're part of the conversation. And then I ask them, what do you do professionally? What do you do professionally? What? Student? What are you studying? What's your main subject you study? Sanskrit, okay. Look at, then I say, really, amazing. You study Sanskrit? And then I show him this picture. You know the picture of the guy going out of his body? The sage, this guy? I say, this guy used to be a Sanskrit student. So this time say that you're an engineer. What do you do professionally? No, this time say engineer. What kind of engineer? Say, I'm a, what? Software engineer. What kind of software? Chawa. You do Chawa. Say, I'm in Chawa. Oh, Java. I didn't. Okay. then I'd say, really, this guy used to do Java. Because it's funny. And half the people will, as soon as you say it, they'll say, ha, ha, ha. And the other half say, really? And then I say, no, not really, I'm just kidding. And then they say, ah, ha, ha, ha. And right when they're saying, ah, ha, 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 I close the book and I hand it back to them. And as I'm handing it back, I say, we don't sell it. That's the first thing I say as it's touching their hand, because that's what they would like to hear. We don't sell it, and as soon as in their hand, like in a bookstore, we only ask for a donation. We don't need the money. The only reason we ask is when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous teachers who have passed it down over many generations and allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. So now say the world famous mantra, I don't have any money. Let the record show he said, I don't have any money, which is not true 99.9% of the time. So then we say, that's all right, just give a penny. So now this is just one way of presenting, but the fact is that the reason people say that they don't have any money is because they're not sure how much to give. And they don't want to insult you by giving too little, because the book, they're thinking $20, if I give a donation, it's too small, I'll insult the person. So you say, just give a penny. And they go, well, I can't just give a penny. And say, no, really, it's okay, you can give whatever you want. My personal way is to let them give whatever they feel, and it's from their own free will. Or you can help them by saying, with printing and shipping, they're around $10. Anything you give over that is a donation. Now, why do we ask for donations? Because we don't want to deprive people of the opportunity of doing a little tiny bit of penance. As soon as they give something in return, they feel like they own it. And Prabhupada told us a story about a little boy about your age who went around with mangoes, first-class mangoes, and he offered them door to door in Mountain View and said, mangoes for free. And everyone said, what's wrong with them? Please go away. Then some wise person told him, charge a lot for each one. So he went back to a similar neighborhood and said, these are $5 each mango. Is that a lot? Not in Japan. Say like $50 each mango. And people say, wow, $50 mangoes? And then they have a consultation and say, how many can we take? And they take them. So we add value to the person so they can actually be attached to the book. And it's called dakshina. I tell them it's a principle called dakshina. When you give something in return for spiritual teachings, then you're able to enter deeply within it. That's the idea of the donation. So I give a donation. Thank you very much. Let the record show that he gave $20. Then I'll say that, thank you very much. Do you believe in the power of prayer? Yes, he does. So then I have a card that has the Maha Mantra on it. I'll say, great, I'm going to teach you a beautiful prayer that's meant to wake up love for God in your heart. Are you ready? Yes, he's ready. Now, what if somebody says, no, I don't believe in prayer? Say, I don't believe in prayer. Perfect. I have a mantra for you. Either way, it will work. And then I show them the mantra, and I'll show word by word, say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then I tell them, you're a natural. You're a natural. Then I give them prasadam. So there's no reason on earth why not to have prasadam all the time whenever we walk around to give to people. And Prabhupada authorized us in 1972 through Bhattu Gopal Prabhu in Cleveland, Ohio, to distribute lollipops. He said you can offer them. Remember I said the Toronto temple was built on lollipops? So then there's different kinds of prasadam, but one that's universally understood and appreciated even by monkeys in Vrindavan is a lollipop. And then we hand them prasadam, and then we say, it's been an honor meeting you. If there were more people like you in the world, or whatever expression of gratitude that you want to make to the person, to really appreciate that they stopped and took their valuable time. And if they didn't give a donation, then you also appreciate they took their valuable time to stop and talk to you. Be extremely appreciative of the fact that they sacrificed some of their life just to stand there and listen to you. And then they walk away with the book, prasadam, and they also chanted the holy names. So give them a big hand. Thank you. You can sit. It's all on this card, and I recommend if you're not used to it, then use the card when you're out there, and you'll say, excuse me, yeah, I'm just learning this. Can you help me walk through it? And then you can hand them the card and say, tell me what to say next. And then they'll come to the part and they go, now you're supposed to ask me for donation. It's like, okay. Are there any questions? Yes, Prabhu?
So, thank you, Guru Maharaj, for the wonderful presentation. I have a question that...
Keep that close.
Is long presentation, like sometimes just one line can do. So what is the...
Don't oversell. If somebody's already ready and they start pulling out their wallet as soon as you meet them, you don't have to go through, no, wait, let me do the whole thing. Just, and this is one template. And if you learn this template, there's different parts of it that you can, modules, you can use at any time. You can also do it in a shorter way. The main reason I give a template is so you can get confidence, because that's the main thing. Learning a language, it's confidence. Make mistakes until you go like, they can understand me. And the same thing, if you have confidence that this can work, especially if you use the right fruit principle, be more selective than convincing. Just try to look for people already who are predisposed. Yesham tvanta katam papam. See that it's in their eyes, that they have some sense of appreciation, and then you can talk to them. Mayapur Prabhu, we're only going to take like 3 or 4.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for always reminding us. I really like the fact that I often do the mistake at hotel trade shows. I have the book ready, and the first thing you shared is, don't do that. So I'm going 1 in 10, 12 days to LA. So thanks for reminding. Maharaj, any tips for an Indian person?
Yes.
Who says, I know
opposite.
everything?
Yeah, okay, thank you for bringing that up. If you talk to Indians, it's very different. So my approach when talking to Indians is, I never ever hand them a book or anything. Don't hand them a card, don't hand them I don't hand them a card, I don't hand them a book, I don't hand them nothing. So when I'm in a doorway and an Indian comes to the door, I'll just introduce myself very humbly, and I'll tell them what we're doing. And the way I explain it is, you already know all this. Your mother read the Bhagavad Gita, your grandmother memorized the Bhagavad Gita. That's what I say first. See, you already know this. And I always preface everything I say to them with this: you know better than me, as you know better than I. I'll say that everything I preface, because the main psychological blockade with Indians is they feel guilty. You came to their door with the Gita and they're sitting there watching TV and doing this, and they're going like, oh my God, I'm in my bathrobe, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and here's these guys with tilak on and a book, and it's like, have you read Bhagavad Gita? It's like, I know everything. So be very gentle and kind to people. Everyone, that Indians feel very devotional. Prabhupada said, if you just scratch beneath the surface, you'll find, intense devotion in Indian people. Even I met a guy at the airport, said, I'm an atheist. And I kept talking to him, and he goes, okay, all right, Hare Krishna, And so with Indians, I just introduce myself, I make sure I don't hand them anything, and I make sure they know that I know that they already know everything. And then I tell them what we're doing, and I say, as you know well, the solution to problems in the world comes from a spiritual level. It can't take place through political arrangements. It has to come from a higher level than the problem was caused, from which the problem was caused. And I say, as you know better than me, the Bhagavad Gita is the great jewel of India, of knowledge, and it solves the problems of individuals and the world. And what we're doing is printing books in many different languages, the Bhagavad Gita. And we're also starting schools to teach people Bhagavad Gita all over the world. And I name a few places like Japan and China and Russia and Mexico and many European countries. And what we're doing, and now here comes the most important words for Indians, is two words, fundraiser. Everyone say fundraiser. Indians love fundraisers. They're waiting for you to say that, and they go, I got piles of money. I don't know what to do with it all. It's really bugging me. And I've been waiting for somebody to have a legitimate fundraiser, and you came to my door. I really appreciate it. As soon as you say that, you'll notice the lights go on, and they'll go, how much? How much can I give? They'll go in the back. They'll talk to their wife, come out, write a check. They'll find cash in the mattress, whatever it is. And they'll come out and they'll say, is this enough? And they're so good-hearted and, pious. They want to help to spread the Bhagavad Gita. And as soon as they give whatever they feel they want to do to help, then you can immediately start giving them all the books. And they'll be so appreciative that you give them the books, and you can give them as many as you want, and they'll take care of them. They'll put them in their house. And that's how it works with Indians. I'm glad you asked. At least that's how it works for me. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So one question I had is, you showed us how to distribute a Gita, but often, like at ISV, we give three Murti sets, like packaged books. So how do you say we should present that?
Okay, with the multiple books and a little stack, you should have one line for each book. Like this book goes into the science of meditation, how to find peace within. This book shows how to relate to others in a more spiritual way. And this book, this is an ancient history of, like that. Take your time, do your homework, and all you have to do when you show, whether it's 7 books, whether it's 3 books and they're tied together, you point to each one and you say one line that describes each book. And then that's your presentation. Balaram, last one, except for there's one online.
I was wondering what you would say after they say their secret to you. What's a good response?
The body language is, oh, I knew it. I knew you were into something good. And it's like, oh, wow. Just appreciate that they have some point of view that is deeper, that they're thinking about some philosophy in life or some way of acting. And so that's what is the preface, or that's what precedes me then saying, great, I'll show you really quick what's in the book. Because they're now qualified. I recognize that. So what they're saying is like, oh yeah, I've read philosophy before. I'm into psychology. And it's, oh, fantastic. I thought so. Great. Here, I'll show you really quick. That's what it means, that they said something is like, okay, you're qualified to see this. Okay, last one. I can't see who's up there. Tadiya Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, the biggest stumbling block I see when I go to book distribution is, so when some people say no, I get discouraged. And with the enthusiasm, the initial enthusiasm with which I went there to do the book distribution, that disappears in 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm just dragging my time, the remainder of the time. I don't want that. I want to be more.
Okay, since we're short on time, I'll give you the solution really quick. Your task is to try to get 10 people in a row to say no. And so often when I take groups of devotees out that are brand new, I'll say, okay, what your thing is, you got to get 7 people in a row to tell you no, absolutely go, I don't want this. And so they'll come back to me and they'll say, I'm at 4. You have to change the perspective. We're not going out to sell books. We're going out for our own purification. If you think everyone's going to take a book, you'll probably be disappointed. But if you go out and just be an instrument, if Krishna wants to sell a book, fine. You have to relax a little bit and just be there. I've had times, people are always following me around when I go out, because I'll go to a new place and they go, okay, show us how it's doing. I'm going, Krishna, show me how it's going to go. And I've had times when I start going door to door, and everyone's going, no, 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 no. And they're, the new people are looking at me like, can you really do this? And that's extra pressure. So I can understand the pressure that you put on yourself, but take that away. Just say, whatever happens, it's fine. I'm just going to do what I do. I'm doing my job. I'm going to present. And if somebody takes, that's fine. And if somebody doesn't take, they saw it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told his Matbasis to go out and knock at least 3 doors a day. And he said, even if they don't take it, if they don't listen to you, they'll think, I saw a spiritual person today, and it went in their mind. So you don't have to worry. It's not us that's the doers. And also, it reminded me of another principle, always honor objections. When people say, I can't take it because, honor the objection. Don't say, no, 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 you can. It's that if somebody says, no, I can't take this because I'm a Buddhist, and I say, oh, fantastic, yeah, definitely, you shouldn't take this because you're a Buddhist, and then I'll give them another book, and I'll say, here, this is for Buddhists. Even I was with some young Indian devotees in Texas. We had a big table, and a guy came out and he said, I'm a Muslim. And I said, oh, okay, here, no, I'm sorry. And I gestured to them, I said, give him the Muslim book. And they were looking at me like, like which one? And they finally handed me a Krishna book. And I said, listen, as far as we're concerned, Allah is within everyone's heart. And the main purpose of life is to develop love for Allah. And I said, nowadays everyone's concerned with all worldly things, and they've forgotten this. These books remind us of that. And he took it. So honor objections and don't worry about no. Just use no as part of your quota. If a person plays baseball, I don't know about cricket because I don't know anything about cricket. But if they strike out 7 out of 10 times and they get a hit 3 out of 10 times, they get, I don't know, a contract for $45 million a year. 3 out of 10. They're batting 300. So if you can find 3 people out of 10, or even 3 people out of 1,000, what do you care? You're just out there for purification. Okay. There was one last one. Shoda Kripa Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So we start with the objective of leaving the recipient with a good impression at the end. So if I come back and reflect at what I achieved, how do I really know that I indeed left the person with a good impression? How to reflect on that?
If it comes from your heart. So I'll just tell you a story and then we'll end. But I was in Honolulu, Hawaii, distributing books. Obviously made a big impression on me, but it was afternoon time. We had been hearing and chanting at the temple. I was feeling extremely blissful just to be alive, to have the opportunity to do anything. I was with my friend Satyadev Prabhu. We were out there together, and I met this honeymoon couple. Lots of honeymoon couples there on Waikiki, at Waikiki, Kalakala Avenue. Did I say it wrong? So then, as I met this couple, I showed them, and they said, oh, we're Christians, we're not interested in this. I offered them an opportunity if they just wanted to give the donation without the book. They said, no, we wouldn't give to that. We only give to Christian causes. And for some reason, it was very heartfelt. I said to them, no, I just appreciate that you took your valuable time. That's more valuable than money. You took part, a few minutes out of your life here, and you're on honeymoon. And I just really felt it when I said it. I was appreciating them. And we parted ways, and a half hour later, I was talking to somebody else, and I saw that same couple standing watching me. And then they came up to me, and they said, we changed our mind. And then I was able to... I was able to correlate the two. The way that I said it, which was heartfelt and detached. I just wanted to be their friend. I wasn't disturbed that I couldn't control them with my mantras. So if we can get into that mood, it's like, you have to do what I say. I did the mantra, he guaranteed it, you didn't do it. I'm disturbed with you because I'm the controller and you're... No, don't be the controller. Just be the instrument and be happy that somebody gave you 2 seconds of their life. We should go out there with no expectation. We're not the lords of the world. We're just representing the lords of the world, the Lord of the world. And, when we're out there, be humble. People say, get out of here. You shouldn't be here. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. I don't want to go too much into it because it's really late. But this regular infusion of an understanding of what we're doing when we go out for book distribution and a reasonable template that you can follow will give confidence, and you can try it any time and just follow the progression, and you'll see that it'll give you a sense that, yes, I can communicate this, and then you'll be able to innovate after that and be very effective once you have confidence that you can do this any place at any time. Thank you very much for taking your time. I went way over because of my nature. And we're now, if I'm not incorrect, going to serve prasadam, right? Okay. Sharirat vijaja jodendriya taheka jibe pele vishaya shagare Dharma je jivayati Loba moisu durmati Take jeta katita shanshare Krishna borodoyamoy Kori bare jivaja Go Premanande, Nitai Goda Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Goda Hari Bo. Malini, I actually cut you off, and JM, if you needed to make any announcement for today. Okay. Oh, so we have some cards that has an at-a glance of what we talked about here. And we posted on the Weekend Warriors. If you want it in paperless, you can get it on Weekend Warriors. Or if you want to take the card with you, you can do that too. JM, did you want to make an announcement? Okay. So I, again, like to heartily welcome Amarendra Prabhu and his illustrious wife to our ISV. Nirkul and I aren't so fortunate because we already had a trip planned to Japan for a long time, so we're leaving tomorrow, and I'm, however, happy to leave everybody in the capable hands of Amarendra Prabhu to present Krishna Katha over the next few days while we're here. Thank you very much for keeping this in part of your orbit. We're really glad you're here. And thank you very much, everyone who drove from far distances to attend the morning program. So many bhajans, so little time, right? Yeah. We could stay all day, right? Yes. Yeah. Well, it's Kadashi. Maybe we will. So, prasadam is outside. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev. If you so desire, please bless and empower everyone who joined the Sangha today, everyone who watched online, everyone who accidentally slept through it, and those who forgot about it, that they'll always have a desire in their heart to hear and chant the glories, your glories, and to give them to as many people as possible. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in whole or in part, please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpataruscha
Hare
Kripasindhaveva
Krishna.
cha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nantakoti Vaishnaviniki Jai.